Imagine this. Your muscles feel ready to train, but your tendons disagree. You warm up longer than you used to. You avoid certain angles. Your elbow whispers during curls. Your shoulder complains on presses. Your knee nags on stairs. Your Achilles talks back on runs. And slowly, without ever deciding to, you start training around your body instead of training your body. Here's the midlife reality nobody warns you about. One small tweak can cost you 6 weeks. Not because you're weak, because connective tissue adapts slower with age, and it punishes impatience. If you're over 45 and this sounds familiar, listen closely, because most people make one mistake that almost guarantees they'll re-injure the same spot. We'll get to that in a minute. Today, we do this the adult way. No hype. No copy this protocol. No dosing talk. By the end, you'll know what recovery peptides are actually discussed for, what the evidence really looks like, and the one rehab rule that prevents a huge percentage of repeat injuries. We're breaking down 3 names you keep seeing everywhere: BPC 157, TB 500, and Thymosin Alpha-1. Welcome to Midlife Peptide Intelligence. If you want calm, science-first midlife performance content without internet drama, subscribe. This channel is built for staying strong long-term, not gambling with your health. Now, before we talk peptides, I want to say the most important sentence in this entire video. If your recovery plan is rest until it feels better, you're going to keep getting injured. Midlife recovery is not passive. It's not hope. It's a process. The right load, at the right time, in the right direction, long enough that tissue actually remodels. Peptides, if they belong anywhere in the conversation, belong as a possible supporting signal. They do not replace rehab. They do not replace smart training structure, and they definitely don't replace sleep. Because here's the hard truth. A compound cannot fix a movement pattern. It cannot fix a training plan that spikes volume too fast. And it cannot fix the classic midlife mistake, coming back too hard, too soon. So let's build the foundation in plain English. When a tendon or connective tissue is irritated, 2 things matter more than most people realize. First is signaling and blood supply. Tendons have less blood flow than muscle, which is one reason they heal slower. Healing isn't just time, it's a sequence: inflammation, cleanup, new collagen, then remodeling. Second is collagen alignment. Tendon tissue isn't simply repaired like a cut on your skin. It needs the fibers organized in a way that can handle force again. And that alignment happens through controlled loading, not through rest alone. That's why good rehab often looks boring. Isometrics, controlled eccentrics, range of motion work, and a slow build. Boring, but effective. Now, why do recovery peptides get so much attention? Picture the moment you tweak something. Maybe it's your elbow. You back off for a few days. The pain drops. You feel relieved. You go back to training, and the exact same spot lights up again. It feels like your body is stuck in a loop. Under the hood, your body is trying to run a repair job. First, it sends cleanup signals. Then it tries to improve the local environment: blood flow, communication between cells, building materials. Then it lays down fresh tissue and slowly reshapes it so it can handle load again. This is where recovery peptides enter the conversation. Because the peptides people talk about in this space are usually connected to 3 parts of that repair story. First, they're discussed as signals that may support a better healing environment. Things like new blood vessel growth and the "start rebuilding here" messaging between cells. Second, they're discussed for their potential to influence inflammation and repair pathways. Not by turning inflammation off, because you actually need some inflammation to heal, but by shaping the process so it's less chaotic and more productive. Third, they're discussed for remodeling, helping the body organize new tissue over time so it becomes strong again, not just less painful. Now here's the grown-up part. Those ideas are real biology. In lab and animal research, you can find signals that influence repair processes. So it's not fair to say, peptides never work. But it's also not honest to say, Peptides guarantee healing. For many of these compounds, the strongest evidence people cite is preclinical, lab and animal work, with a smaller amount of human data depending on the exact compound and context. And then the internet fills the gap with certainty and anecdotes. Anecdotes can be true experiences, but true experiences are not the same as predictable results, and they are definitely not the same as long-term safety. So here's the correct midlife mindset. Peptides may help support recovery in some cases, but they don't replace smart rehab. They should be approached with caution, quality control, realistic expectations, and medical common sense, especially after 45, when the cost of a mistake is higher. And now we get to the mistake I promised you at the start. Feeling better is not being healed. Pain often drops before tissue is ready. That is the trap. You feel good, you load heavy, and the tendon wasn't remodeled yet, so you're back to zero, sometimes worse. Keep that in your head as we break down each compound. BPC 157 stands for Body Protection Compound 157. It's a synthetic peptide based on a sequence discussed in research contexts related to protection and repair signaling, originally tied to gastrointestinal research discussions. Why people get excited is simple. In preclinical research, especially animal models, BPC 157 has been associated with healing-related processes. Things like angiogenesis, meaning new blood vessel formation, along with changes in inflammation signaling and tissue repair behaviors. So the story people tell is, if my tendon has poor blood supply and slow healing, maybe a signal that supports repair helps. That's the appeal. Now the adult reality check. A lot of online confidence is not built on large, high-quality human clinical trials for common gym injuries. It's built on early research and personal reports. Personal reports can be real, but they are not proof of consistent effects or long-term safety. And the midlife trap shows up again. If something makes pain drop quickly, you might think you're healed, but remodeling still takes time. Tendons don't care how motivated you are. They care about load progression. So the grown-up way to think about BPC 157 is this. BPC 157 is discussed because it may influence healing-related signaling in preclinical research. Human evidence and long-term safety for general injury recovery are not settled like the internet suggests. And even if symptoms improve, it does not replace progressive loading and movement correction. Now let's talk about TB500, because this is one of the messiest terms on the internet. TB500 is commonly marketed as a peptide linked to tissue repair and recovery. Online, it's often described in the same breath as thymosin beta-4, because the marketing story revolves around repair, cell movement, and remodeling themes. But here's the key midlife point. TB500 is often used as a label, and labeling online isn't always consistent. That matters because when language gets sloppy, expectations get sloppy, and quality control becomes a bigger issue. Why do people chase TB500? Because healing is not only about lowering inflammation. Healing is also about cells moving into the area, organizing the repair, and then remodeling tissue so it can tolerate load again. That's the remodeling story that makes TB500 attractive in gym culture. Now, the adult reality check. A lot of what gets repeated online is stronger than what broad, high-quality human evidence can confidently support for typical training injuries. That doesn't mean it does nothing. It means don't confuse promising biology and anecdotes with predictable outcomes. And remember the trap. Symptom relief can arrive before structural readiness. So the grown-up way to think about TB500 is this. TB500 is discussed because it's marketed around repair and remodeling themes, but online terminology can be inconsistent, and the evidence base for everyday gym injuries is not as settled as many claims suggest. If you're going to discuss it at all, discuss it with caution, skepticism toward hype, and a rehab plan that still does the real work. Now for the third name,
Thymosin Alpha-1. This one belongs in the recovery conversation for a different reason. The first two, BPC 157 and TB 500, are usually talked about like local repair tools. Tendons, connective tissue, the spot that hurts. Thymosin Alpha-1 is more about the environment your body heals in.
Because here's something midlife athletes learn the hard way. Your tendon doesn't recover in isolation. It recovers inside a whole system. And that system includes sleep quality, stress load, and how inflamed your body is running day to day. When that system is overloaded, healing gets messy. The early phase can drag on. The calm down and rebuild phase can take longer. And you can do perfect rehab on paper, yet still feel like you're not bouncing back. Thymosin Alpha-1 is discussed because it may influence immune signaling, basically the communication that helps your body manage inflammation and recovery. Not as a magic fix, and not as a replacement for rehab, but as a system support concept people bring up when recovery feels unusually slow or stubborn. Now, adult reality check. This isn't a direct tendon growth switch. It doesn't give you permission to train through warning pain. And it's not something to treat casually, especially if you have medical conditions or take medications that affect immune function. But as a category, it's useful to understand. Sometimes the bottleneck isn't only the tissue. Sometimes the bottleneck is the recovery system behind it. So the grown-up way to think about Thymosin Alpha-1 is this. It's discussed for recovery environment support, how smoothly your body runs inflammation and repair, while the real foundation is still the same: smart loading, sleep, protein, and consistency. Here's the trap that ruins recovery for people over 45. You get pain, you rest. Pain drops, you go back. Pain returns. That cycle happens because pain reduction is not the same as tissue remodeling. Tendons remodel on a slower timeline than your mood does. And the midlife nervous system is often sensitized by stress and lighter sleep, which can amplify pain signals. So the most powerful recovery strategy is not a molecule. It's a system. If you want a clean, realistic recovery blueprint, it looks like this. You find the trigger. What exact movement, angle, or weekly volume spike lights up the tissue? You reduce it enough to calm things down without going to zero. Complete rest often deconditions tissue and makes the comeback worse. You load the tissue in a controlled way it can tolerate. This is where isometrics and slow eccentrics often come in, because they build capacity without chaos. You progress weekly, not emotionally. Tendons love consistency and hate sudden spikes. You return to full training by rebuilding capacity, not by testing too early. Here's a simple example. Let's say your elbow tendon flares on curls. You don't quit training, you adjust. You use pain-free ranges. You change grip or angle. You add controlled isometrics. You rebuild load slowly. And you keep weekly volume from jumping like a roller coaster. Or your Achilles nags when you run. You don't pretend it's nothing and keep sprinting. You keep moving, but you change the demand. You build calf strength, you manage intensity, and you progress like you're investing, not gambling. This is what people miss. Tendons don't heal with time. They heal with smart load. Because this is a 45+ channel, we have to talk about the uncomfortable stuff. One big risk in the peptide recovery world is quality control. If something isn't regulated like standard medicine, purity and consistency can vary. Another risk is optimism misuse. People feel better and load too soon. That's how you turn a manageable tendon issue into a long-term problem. Another risk is missing medical red flags. Not every pain is a tendon tweak. Some pain is nerve involvement. Some is inflammatory arthritis. Some is structural. If pain is persistent, severe, getting worse, waking you at night, or paired with weakness, numbness, fever, unexplained swelling, or sudden loss of function, you need real medical evaluation. And if you compete in sport, remember, many organizations restrict certain substances. Always know your anti-doping rules. So, are these peptides real or hype? The honest answer is, the biology is real and the internet's certainty is often not. It's plausible that certain peptides influence repair-related signals. It's also true that much of the loudest online content overstates how proven, predictable, and safe these compounds are for everyday injury recovery. So the correct midlife mindset is, curiosity is fine, blind faith is not. Hope is fine, shortcuts are not. Support is fine, replacing rehab is not. All right, quick recap. BPC 157 is discussed because preclinical research links it to healing-related signaling like blood vessel formation and inflammation modulation. But human evidence and long-term safety for general injury recovery are not settled like the internet suggests. TB500 is discussed because it's marketed around repair and remodeling themes. But online terminology can be inconsistent, and evidence for typical gym injuries isn't as settled as many claims suggest. Thymosin Alpha-1 is discussed because of its immune signaling role and its connection to the overall recovery environment. It may be relevant to resilience and recovery in certain contexts, but it's not a magic fix, and it doesn't replace the fundamentals. And the biggest truth is this. For adults over 45, recovery is built on progressive loading, sleep depth, metabolic health, and smart training structure. Skip those, and you keep paying the injury tax. If this helped, subscribe to Midlife Peptide Intelligence for calm, science-first midlife performance content. And here's the real test to leave you with. If your tendon pain vanished tomorrow, would your training plan still injure you again next month? Because if the plan doesn't change, the outcome won't either. This was Midlife Peptide Intelligence. No hype, no nonsense, just better understanding.